to Reimagining Chapel. My name is Amanda Esco, and I'm the director of the Religious Education Program here at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Thank you for joining me today. Let's begin by lighting our chalice. Lighting our chalice is a ritual that we have throughout our congregations in the United States and worldwide. This ritual connects us to ourselves, each other, and our spaces. So grab yours if you have them. Ooh, I got mine. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. This morning, let's center ourselves in this space by taking 2 cleansing breaths. And you can do this if you're standing up or sitting down if that's more comfortable for you. So I invite you to get yourself ready. Plant those toes into the ground and take some deep breaths with me. I'm going to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. Are you ready? Let's take a deep breath in. Back to our hearts. Let's do that one more time. Let's take a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouth. Thank you for centering yourself in this space with me. Another tradition we have here at First Church is to share with one another and check in. How are things going? We call this joys and concerns. I'll start. I had a huge joy this week, as I'm sure a lot of you did, with our inauguration celebrations. These celebrations celebrated our democracy and our people, our country. There were moments that took my breath away with their beauty. Amanda Gorman reciting her beautiful poem made me stop and cry. Watching Kamala Harris, our new vice president, being sworn in, the majesty of that moment to have a Black Indian woman there representing our country was breathtaking. That was a huge joy for me. But what's a joy for you? Fill me in. Tell those who love you. I'll be right here waiting for you. Thank you for sharing your joys and concerns with your people. They want to hear, whether it's your dog or your cat or your pet sloth, they all want to hear what's on your hearts. So our UU of the week is a writer who imagined new worlds. Take it away, Miss Lissa.
The Religious Education Assistant at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Continuing our theme of imagination this month, we're going to learn about author and occasional Unitarian Universalist Ray Bradbury. He was born in 1920 in Illinois. His family made their way out west looking for employment during the Great Depression, eventually settling in Hollywood, California. He married his first love, Marguerite McClure, and had 4 children. Ray Bradbury wrote some of the most creative stories in American literature. The New York Times said that Ray Bradbury was the author most responsible for bringing science fiction to the literary mainstream, although he rejected being called a science fiction writer almost as much as he rejected being called a Unitarian. He called himself a fantasy writer, explaining that science fiction is a depiction of the real. Fantasy is a depiction of the unreal. And as for religion, Bradbury called himself a delicatessen religionist, taking religious inspiration from many Eastern and Western religions. He did see his writing career and creative vision as a gift from the divine. Bradbury said, "We must move into the universe. Mankind must save itself. We must escape the danger of war and politics. We must become astronauts and go out into the universe and discover the God in ourselves." Ray Bradbury knew at the age of 11 that he was going to be a writer and worked hard toward that goal. He made time to write every day. In a story which reminds me of his classic novel, Something Wicked This Way Comes, Bradbury says a carnival entertainer called Mr. Electrico touched him on the nose with an electrified sword, which made his hair stand on end as Mr. Electrico shouted, "Live forever!" Bradbury remarked, "I felt that something strange and wonderful had happened to me because of my encounter with Mr. Electrical. He gave me a future. I began to write full time, and I have written every single day of my life since that day." When Ray Bradbury died at the age of 91 in 2012, there was an outpouring of praise for his creativity and for his contributions to individuals and society. The LA Times said he could write lyrically and evocatively of lands and imagination away, worlds he anchored in the here and now with a sense of visual clarity and small-town familiarity. He also had a knack for describing futuristic technology like ATMs, Bluetooth earbuds, and artificial intelligence long before they became reality. Barack Obama was the president at the time of Bradbury's death, and he released this statement. "For many Americans, the news of Ray Bradbury's death immediately brought to mind images from his work, imprinted in our minds, often from a young age. His gift for storytelling reshaped our culture and expanded our world. But Ray also understood that our imaginations could be used as a tool for better understanding, a vehicle for change, and an expression of our most cherished values. There is no doubt that Ray will continue to inspire many more generations with his writings, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends." So I say, pick up a classic Ray Bradbury story today and get lost in imagination. Thank you for joining me for another edition of UU of the Week. To learn more about exciting Unitarian Universalists, go to uuoftheweek.org. Until next time.
Hi, friends! Let's see what's in our Wonder Box. Look, there's a snowflake. This month, we've been exploring the idea of imagination. One of the best gifts of imagination is the gift of play. I have a story for you today called Things God Made for Joy by Mary Ann Moore. As I tell you the story, I want you to remember that when I say God, I'm using that as one big term. For you, it can mean the universe, the divine, nature, any image of God that makes sense in your heart, that feels right to you. As Unitarian Universalists, we get to decide what that is for each and every one of us. So, settle in and listen. In the beginning, God was very serious as she brought the world into being. "This is very important work," she said to herself, "and I must think very carefully about what I'm creating." First, she made light and dark. "Light and dark are very important," she said. "We need light so we can see the work, and we need dark so we can rest." Then she made the earth and the sky. "Earth and sky are very important," she said. "We need the earth so we can feel at home. We need the sky so we can look up and away." Next, she made living plants and creatures. "Plants and animals are very important," she said. "They will help with food and clothing and houses." Then she made people. "Human beings are very important," she said. "They will be companions for me and will help me with my work in the world." And then she rested from all of that very important work. After she rested, she looked around at all that she had made and saw how important it was. But somehow, she wasn't completely happy about it. She said to herself, "I know I should be very proud of all of this important work, light and dark, earth and sky, plants and animals, and people, and I am. Still, it all seems just too serious. Something is missing. What is it that's missing? She thought for a while, and then she knew. Besides all the serious, important things in my world, there are some things that should just be for fun and play. I'm going to create things for the world that are just for play. So God got busy again. She said, I made the light and the dark, and they are serious and important. But I think I'll play around with them for the fun of it. She started tossing them up and mixing them and matching them, and suddenly there was a shimmery, bright yellow and a deep, powerful red, and one of her favorites, a cheerful, vibrant orange. Ah, she said, her heart bursting with joy. That's better. Next, she said, I made the earth and the sky, and they are very serious and important. But I think I'll just play around with them a little bit for the fun of it. So she rubbed them together and bounced them around, and then suddenly there were clouds in all kinds of funny little shapes and tiny little motes, the floating earth in the air, and snowflakes in a million beautiful designs. Ah, she said with a joyful smile, that's better. Then she said, I made plants and animals, and they are all serious and important. But I think I'll play around with them for the fun of it. So she divided them up and put them together again. And suddenly there was silky milkweed that could fly through the air, and frogs that went ribbit, and monkeys that could swing by their tails. Ah, she cried, clapping her hands with joy. That's better. Finally, she said, I made the humans, and they are serious and important. But I think I'll just play around with them just for fun to see what happens. So she mixed and she matched and she bounced and she tossed them and divided them and put them back together again. And suddenly there were tickly feelings on the bottom of feet and giggles and hugs. Ah, she said, laughing with joy, that is better. She was having such a good time that she kept right on making all sorts of things just for the fun of it. She kept right on making things that gave her joy. After all this fun, she looked again at her companions, the people, and saw that they were busy working to help her just as she had planned. But to her surprise, she saw that they were so busy working on the serious, important things that they were meant to do, they walked by the flowers and the plants. They didn't see the yellows, reds, and orange. And when the snowflakes fell, they didn't look at the patterns. And when the frogs went ribbit, they didn't hear them. And they hardly ever giggled. Wait a minute, she said to herself, this isn't right. Yes, I want people to help me, but I also want them to feel the joy in all of the things that I have made. I want them to have fun too. So she called them all together and said, I love you and thank you for all the serious and important work you do to help me. But I have also made lots of things that are for fun and play. I want you to feel joy in all these wonderful things, just as I do. That is important too. After that, when the people saw the orange of a marigold, they stopped and looked at it and felt joy. And when snowflakes fell, they got out their magnifying glasses and looked at the patterns and felt joy. And when the frogs went ribbit, they listened and felt joy. And when they tickled and giggled and hugged, they felt joy. The people felt joy in all the things that God had made. Now, we know that this isn't actually how the universe was made. But I think Mary Ann's story illustrates the idea that in this world, we have big, important jobs and responsibilities. But we're not here just for work. We're here for joy and for play and our imaginations. We're here for community. When we use our imaginations, just like the God did in that story, we start to create worlds of wonder and happiness. So, this week, your assignment is to go and play and create new worlds of wonder. Thank you for joining us today for Reimagining Chapel. To find out more information about the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City, please visit us at slcuu.org. But until next time, let's heart out.